But now we are talking with Colombine Depaire and Hannah Loué about the new formats and especially all the digital formats for bande dessinée. I always say bande dessinée because comics is really American comics and manga is Japanese bande dessinée. So for this moment, I will say bande dessinée means French comics. So Colombine has many expertises actually. She does training, exhibition. She is curating exhibition. She is organizing mediation and animation for children books and for a young audience. So it will be interesting to discuss with her about the new formats and especially targeted to younger audience. Colombine curated for us an exhibition called Machine à Bulles, and Anna will tell us more about this. Anna is part of the digital department in Institut français, and together with the book department, we joined forces to set together this exhibition. So I will just cut the discussion now and give the mic to Colombine about new formats and new audiences.
Thank you. I will start to give an overview about comic book reading, and I will more use the word comics even if I talk about bande dessinée. But of course, I want it to be a discussion, so then if you have any question, don't hesitate to come back to me. I want to speak about digital reading in general in France to give you some data and some reference, so then you can understand better how the digital comics will take place in the readership in the Francophone world. So we will speak about digital comics and new formats. The first question is, does really French people read online comics? The answer is hard to define. If we look only about the numbers, all genres included, digital books represent in France 8.42% of the publisher's turnover. 8.42%, but these sales are mainly focused on non-fiction, which means it's mainly textbooks, kids' textbooks, university non-fiction. In the comic book market, digital represents less than 2% of the publisher's turnover in France. So these numbers are very, very slow, and e-readers are really in minority. But those who read digital comics are very, very passionate about it. I am one of them. We read lots and lots of series, buying comics title by title or through subscription offer, which encourage compelling reading. And in fact, when we see the digital readers, we can see they really jump from one series to another. The digital comics market in France is growing by 20% each year. So it's a very positive, encouraging number. Along with a general growth in printed comic book market anyway, and it's true, French people are very willing to read the storytelling with graphics and the diversity of comics we have here. This 20%, it includes both Franco-Belgian comics, manga, and also American comics. We don't really distinguish it for numbers. An interesting fact for me is that both sectors hang together in some ways. The one of the link between the digital readership and the book chain, the physical book chain, is that 20% of the e-readers also borrow e-books from physical libraries. And in France, we have a large network of libraries. So it shows one link between both physical institution and digital formats. Another link is the efforts of from the publisher to offer content on both printed and digital formats. And I would like to have a look at it through two platforms. The first platform is Neo. You can see it on the screen, celebrating its 10th anniversary. Isneo is a leader platform dedicated to digital comics with a catalog of 50,000 titles, I think. And most of them are digital version of traditional paper comics. So Franco-Belgian bande-dessine, American comics, as well as manga. It celebrated its 10 years, but recently Isneo has banked an original webtoon, as well as a simultaneous thread. New chapters of some manga series are translated the following week of the Asian publication. Of course, it's to fight against the scan trad phenomenon. And it shows also a renewal of the Isneo readership. For 2019, we have 3 million comics read on Isneo. 3 million comics by less than 10% of the French people. It shows really we have some big readers, that's les super lecteurs that you can see on the screen. And these compelling readers will make the recommendation. Another major competitor in this reading libraries dedicated to comics is Sequencity by Leclerc. Sequencity, it includes 30,000 titles. And what I think is interesting about this website is it shows the third link between digital comics and the book chain. Sequencity is linked to the traditional bookstore network because it's owned by a supermarket chain, Leclerc, which include many comics bookstore, many cultural stores, including bookstores. And these booksellers write a comic book review for the platform Sequencity. So physical booksellers will comment online version of the comics. That's the two major classic platform, I would say. Other platforms lead on community feedback to offer to the author self-publishing space. For example, recently we heard about Bayday manga draft. One of the main arguments is to transfer most of the income to the authors. And in this way, you may have heard about Dailytoon, which is it's a French webtoon platform, which contributed to the discovery of Last Man, the famous series by Bastien Vives, or also the Philo comics before their paper version. And for almost 2 years, we can see the rise of webtoon. Dailytoon is older than that, but it's true the interest has really increased over 1 year and a half. We can see this success of the webtoon with the Korean major platform Naver Webtoon. It's an international one, that's why I speak about it. It counts 1 million of French readers. But I don't want to promote Naver Webtoon. I prefer to focus on French company, which also launched a dedicated platform, such as the Webtoon Factory. You can see it here on the screen. The Webtoon Factory includes both original creation and adapted series coming from the emblematic Le Journal de Spirou. Indeed, we have in France a very strong children's press market, and comics have a long history with the press because most famous comic series started in magazine before becoming books. So the Webtoon Factory include hilarious famous characters from Le Journal de Spirou, such as the cowboy Walter Appledug, gags by Jean-Luc Deglin based on his cat named Crapule. We know cats always, bring readership. Les Cavaliers de l'Apocalypse by Libon, Noera Batkinos, but also very new talents. You can find the engaged story Yezidi, which I like because it's about two adolescents kidnapped by Daesh and how they will fight against the power. And I won't spoil this story to you because, of course, the Webtoon Factory bet on serialization. So we have only 3 chapters available for Yezidi right now. Digital reading, it's also linked to innovation. So of course, Webtoon is an innovative format, but also I want to talk about technological innovation. Technological innovation is a strategy of another major French publisher, considering Webtoon Factory, it's owned by French publisher Dupuis. And so that's why you can find its famous errors. Digital innovation such as augmented reality. And here I would like to present the project of the Delcourt group, which include Delcourt and Soleil Publishing. They launched an app called Delcourt Soleil Plus. I mean, the principle is quite basic for augmented reality. You can scan the books to discover original content. So scan the page to see a video, animated picture, thanks to augmented reality. And you've got a little picture on the pages to make sure, yes, there is a surprise to discover. Also, of course, it's also a marketing tool. And in fact, the Delcourt group regularly lead on digital for their book launch, making original book trailers or interactive game. And on the presentation, I added some link to mini games based on the publisher's catalog, such as mini-game based on Jean Doux et le mystère de la disquette molle. It's a comics awarded by the FOF Polar at the International Festival in Angoulême in 2018. And the second link is Le Grand Méchant Renard. It's an interactive adventure where you can choose as a fox if you how to enter the hen house. Will you jump over the platform? Will you dip into a tunnel? So it's your choice. And these the games, unfortunately, are not very well known, but it's really part of the promotional strategy of the books. And it's an effort from the publisher to create this, enlarge this universe. Digital comics is also a chance for authors to explore new formats and stories far from the traditional publishers. So I would like to highlight the role of the TV and the radio French media in the development of digital comics. So on the next slide, you can see the some creation by French television, and French television has a research department dedicated to new media. For its TV channel, they produce many adaptations of popular comics into animated series. So here you can see Les Culottés by Pénélope Bagieux, who recently won an Eisner Award for her printed book. A book series which started in the newspaper Le Monde, which saw really this pre-publication schema that we still use in France for comics, from the newspaper to book and then animated series. I'm afraid this one is only available in France. So you may not be, maybe on YouTube you can see 1 or 2 episodes, but that's all. Due to, you know, all international access are very limited because it's really French TV. France Television also adapted the famous Riyad Sattouf bande-dessinée called Les Cahiers d'Esther. And La Petite Mort has been adapted for the first season on Canal+, and the second season on France TV. It's by David Maurier, which is pretty famous too. And if you like satirical stories, for it pleases both adults and children alike, which is really this aim for TV to find characters or stories that will speak to a larger readership. So yes, this one I'm not sure you can access, but you can definitely read the Arte creation, which are series dedicated to Instagram. So you may have heard about 3 years ago, the first Instagram series are été, or summer. It's a refreshing romance which experiments with a new way of storytelling. You need, it uses animated comics, sound, to really, it's designed to broadcast on Instagram, and then the discussion field is allowed you to ask questions and to discuss with other readers what's coming next. It's a huge success with 80,000 followers after 3 seasons. So it's one of the best example in France for this new trend on Instagram. Therefore, the serial comics in Traviata revisits the famous lyrical drama La Traviata in animated episode and karaoke session inspired from manga code. So this one is really linked to Arte Concert, which is media you can find on TV, but also on Instagram and on the Arte website. This transmedia approach are regular with French media, but also public organization. In France, many museums also imagine new comic storytelling to promote their collection. On the next slide, you can see a comic web series by the French cartoonist CP. The aim of this Fabre and the City series is really to entertain through a conversation between Roman antiquity statues and paintings. And it's an introduction to the tour of the work of art of the Fabre Museum, which is based in Montpellier. It's a scrolling strip designed for touchscreen using the same format than the famous Faleina application. You may have heard of Faleina by Marietta Ren, because it was the first scrolling graphic novel enriched with parallax and sound effects. And it has been promoted worldwide by the Institut français. And indeed, the Institut français is another organization helping to promote digital creation. Some French region or department also invest sometimes on comics to encourage the digital creation. The following example, Lectura Plus, is a project by the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region libraries. The idea of this heritage flashback is to invite 8 guest artists to explore the regional libraries. Each of them will select an ancient document, medieval manuscript, some publicity pictures, a novel by Maupassant, and they will draw a contemporary story about it and inspired by the graphic style of the original document. Each season is available online. To finish this panorama of the digital creation in France, I would like to have a look to other initiatives by artists who use internet as a liberty self-publication space. For example, the Grand Papier website, it's designed by a Belgian publishing house called L'Employé du Mois, but the aim is to gather, to curate a selection of stories submitted by several French and Belgium and Francophone also in general. So on Grand Papier, you can read strips by Élise Gravel, Anthony Huchette, Victor Husneau, Thomas Gosselin, which are famous authors of traditional comics, paper bande-dessine, but they wanted to offer stories on another media and to reach another readership. You can also find Otto T, which is a co-founder of the edition FLBL, which is a small press, and it shows a link of these independent approaches with the small press and the underground comic scene. Next, you can see a famous artist, digital artist called Vidu. I wanted to present Vidu because he is well known in the digital comic scene since he won the digital award of the Digital Comics Award from the Angoulême Festival 3 years ago with the work The Building, where you can explore 23 rooms to solve a mystery. And recently, he has launched Facebook collaborative comics. The story was written depending of the reader's feedback. And now he works on augmented reality works, and he is doing more research, always to find new formats of comics. Another artist is which really try to find new formats is Ellie Oldman. This artist was at the hospital. She was injured when she decided to launch a big drawing project, the Infinite Drawing, on Instagram. And she never stopped drawing on her wall on Instagram, but it also became a big installation you can visit on augmented reality with animated picture to offer an immersion on ecological and phantasmagorical universe. Another artist in the digital comic scene is Emmanuel Espines. Emmanuel Espines is well known for the Super Pixel Quest, which is a geek pixel adventure. You can explore case by frame by frame, but then you can see it extend in a big maze. But he also created the ERC Comics Eurobot with La Sorbonne University. The idea with Eurobot is to present an interactive experience. It has been built with scientists to explore the link between human and social intelligent robots. So using the digital media was really significant for this work. And this new project, Au Paradigme, I would like to finish with a little introduction to his work. If Romain, you can click on the picture Au Paradigme. I think there is a link if you click on the picture.
The thing is, when I am sharing the screen like that, it's not gonna work. I'm really sorry.
I can invite you to discover the work after the conference, and which I like, especially because it leads on several squares, and you can see it's only one picture, but the picture will evolve square by square, and the story will be a combination of several pictures, and your click will disassemble the picture. So it's a puzzle picture, but it's also, it uses comics, also comics code, the speech bubble, but also the link between images. In one image, you can find several ones. And that's a perfect example of how digital comics can renew the digital storytelling and explore really all potential of internet. So I will stop my example here, and some of the works I presented are in the Machinable exhibition that Hannah will present. And then if you have questions, of course, don't hesitate to ask.
So hello everyone. I think Romain, you have the presentation as well.
Yes, I have. Just 1 second.
Yep, perfect, thank you. So first, thank you to Colombine for this very interesting presentation about the French digital creation and the French digital comics scene. And we wanted to say a few words on the different actions that the Institut Français in Paris tries to implement to support this creation and to encourage the circulation of works. Just a brief introduction. In the digital department of the Institut Français, we support digital creation as a whole, and we have a series of different areas of focus, and we try to tackle a variety of fields. So I just listed a few of our fields of interest, but today we'll be talking more about innovative books and comics, of course. As you may have understood now, and you can see on the next slide as well, when we talk about innovative books and digital comics, we refer to works which use digital technology to enhance the interactivity and propose new reading experiences and new forms of narratives. So I've put a few examples of works here of what we refer to when we refer to digital comics and innovative books. So you have AR works that use AR. A few have been mentioned by Colombine. Works that are VR adaptations of comics. We mentioned also the Instagram comics, the infinite scrolling comics with Farina, for example. So it's just a brief word to show you the diversity of the formats we refer to when we talk about innovative books and digital comics. And just a quick word also on the means of actions that the Institut français has been implementing to support this digital creation. So we have three main actions. The first one is to enable the identification of the key players and of the artworks. And this goes by online platforms, which are websites that we have basically created dedicated to one field of the digital creation to highlight the diversity of the works and to reference also all the professionals of this sector. We also have exhibitions and showcases that are meant to promote and encourage the circulation of works abroad. And then we have a series of programs which address professionals, such as international professional gatherings, and for instance, the Focus program, which are all partaking in this week. So I'll be focusing more on the online platform and the exhibition, which are really two programs we have been developing to support the digital creation in the field of innovative books and digital comics. So first, we have launched an online platform. So it's a website, which is called futurlivre.fr. So the future of book, basically. And it stands as kind of a directory which references, which tries to be as complete as possible in referencing all the artworks of the French creation in innovative books and digital comics, and also to reference the professionals of this field. So just to walk you through the website, I've included a few screenshots to give you an overview of the main sections of the website. But the idea behind this tool is to really help identify French professionals active in this field and to really give visibility to their works. So just before we move forward, this website is bilingual, so it's available in French and in English. And it's also collaborative, which means that any French professional who has activities in the field of innovative books or digital comics can submit a form to ask for his works to be published online and for his company or himself to be referenced on the website as well. So I'll walk you through it, but it really means to act as a source of information for the professionals, even here in France, and for the French cultural network abroad, to enable them to really have an easy access to this really rich information, as Colombine has been underlining, and to also available to the French, to the partners of the French cultural network abroad, meaning all the cultural institutions some of you represent today. So it's really a tool that anyone can use, and we hope you'll find it useful. So if we move on to the next slide, I just screenshot a screenshot really kind of to show you the artwork section, and you can also narrow down the search to the comics. So this section references all the digital comics of French creators that we have identified or which have been submitted by them directly. And each of the works referenced here have a dedicated page with, of course, a presentation text, information regarding the work, credits, contact information, and even sometimes traders when they are available. So It's a really interesting way to discover the contents and to find also information about the creators. The next section we have on this website is the section called Talks, and it just gathers a few video interviews of French professionals who share their perspective on digital books and comics and the current stakes that the field faces. And then the last section of the website Futur Livre is the network session. So this one, as I was mentioning, acts kind of like a directory where all the creators and producers can really submit a form to have their own profile created and to be referenced in this section and be easily identified also by partners or by festivals who would like to invite them, for instance, or so on. So this is Futur Livre. I invite all of you to go check the website, and it's been up and running for I think almost 3 years now, and I really encourage you to go and check it out often, as we really try to add new content as much as we can, and to really share the identification of the works we try to do here at the Institut Français. So then the next action we have implemented to support digital comics is that we have launched an exhibition which is called Machine à Bulles, so it would translate to comics machines, and it is meant to really encourage the circulation of French digital comics and to encourage the development of collaborations between French creators and international partners abroad. So just a few quick words on the exhibition itself. So it was launched really recently in the beginning of 2020 as the initiative 2020, the year of the comic, which is an initiative that was launched by the French Ministry of Culture, as I'm sure you have heard after a few days of this seminar. And it is available for the French cultural network abroad, so all the Institut Français, Alliance Française, cultural services of the French embassies, and also the cultural partners abroad. So all the book fairs, festivals, also higher education institutions, schools, cultural institutions that some of you here represent today. And this exhibition, as Didier was mentioning in the introduction, was developed by the Books and Media Libraries Division of the Institut Français and the Digital Department, so the Digital Creation Division of the Institut Français. And it was curated by Colombine, as we also mentioned earlier on. And the way it works is that it gathers a series of French creations, French works, and we have made available an exhibition kit. So it's like a package of documents which gather a presentation guide, which explains the works themselves, the equipment required, the credits, of course, the creators, and how to present the works as well. A few suggestions on the mediation that can be implemented. And we also have visitor information documents, so signage, leaflets, etc. And also educational documents. So some of the works have educational content linked to them, which can be used by, for instance, by French teachers in addition to the presentation of the artworks in the exhibition itself. And we also have a communications material available, which can be printed locally and really be adapted to each event. And we make this package available to our colleagues from the French Cultural Network Abroad through what we call the IF Prague platform, which is our internal platform for call for projects, etc. So the exhibition can be presented by the cultural network or by its partners, but it has to be kind of ordered by the representatives of the French cultural network abroad. And the exhibition, although it was developed for 2020, we have decided to make it available until the end of 2021, so 1 extra year, given the recent difficulties linked to the worldwide crisis of the COVID. We thought that it would be really nice to make digital contents more accessible and available for a longer period of time for our colleagues of the cultural network abroad and their partners. So the exhibition itself is comprised of a collection of 24 works. So Colombine has mentioned a few of them a few minutes ago. And since we're dealing with digital contents, it's kind of a force in this case figure, since the exhibition is pretty easy to present, and the works are accessible online and can be downloaded for most of them. So we don't have really the difficulty of shipping artworks, which we can have sometimes for other types of artworks which are not digital. So this is kind of a strength of the exhibition and the formats, and it adapts to very different settings as well. So very small media libraries that we can find in some Institut Français or Alliance Française, but also very large international book fairs, for instance. And we find a diversity of formats in the different artworks that are referenced in the exhibition. So we have comics that are developed for Instagram, VR adaptations of comics, apps and web apps, websites, video games, which might also resonate with one of the talks I think you had a chance to listen today. Comics that also use AR, as Colombine was also mentioning, and also some hybrid forms. So we have some very digital comics that were developed for example, for tablets, infinite scrolling, but which have also an installation declension with murals and frescoes that can be developed, as also we saw with the work of Ellie Odman, The Infinite Drawing, which is an Instagram work, also which can also be shown and linked with the fresco that she has been developing in AR. And in addition to the 24 works that comprise the Comics Machine exhibition, we also have listed with Colombine a series of workshops and master classes that can be proposed in addition to the exhibition itself. So for instance, if we have younger audiences who come with their teacher, they can also be given a chance to interact with some of the creators who can develop special programs in addition to the presentation of the work itself. So on the next slide, I think I just took a few screenshots of some of the works that we find in the exhibition, but I really encourage you to have a look at all the documents we have. Everything is on if.com, institutfrançais.com, the website of the Institut Français, and you can really have a chance to look at all the documents around the exhibition, but it was just to show you the diversity of the formats. So we have video games with the adaptation of Black Sad, VR works, I mentioned the infinite scrolling, frescoes, etc. I also just wanted to show you a quick screenshot of the guide, just the previous slide, where actually I just wanted to show you these because it shows you all the documents available in the exhibition pack. Here we have the presentation of artworks, which also come with signs in English to facilitate the presentation of the works to non-Francophone audiences. So you have all the information regarding the work. So it's maybe a bit small on the screenshot, but you can see the languages available, the equipment that is necessary to present the works, and of course the presentation of the work itself. And if you can, I don't know if you can read, but there's a little to go further mention here that also indicates the link maybe to more classic comic, paper comic that you could find in association to the digital work. And just a last word to before I conclude. These exhibitions I was mentioning could be presented in a partnership with local institutions, book fairs, etc. So these are a few photos of the previous exhibition that we had made available to the French Cultural Network abroad and to the partners. It was also an exhibition about innovative books. It was not specifically dedicated to comics, but it gives you an idea of how these exhibitions can be presented in really different settings and large-scale events. So here we had the French Pavilion at the Frankfurt Book Fair. We had also an exhibition in the context of the Taipei Book Fair and the Seoul Book Fair in South Korea. So just a few examples to show you the diversity of the presentations that can be made, and really I insist it's an exhibition that is meant to be presented by everyone and for a lot of different audiences. And this exhibition can really be a way also to address new audiences and perhaps renew also the audiences of some of the events or some of the French Institut français or Alliance française abroad. The digital department of the Institut français and of course the book and media libraries department of the Institut français remain at your disposal for any additional information you would need on the exhibition or on future livres, so please don't hesitate. And I think we might have a few minutes for a few questions also, so if you have any.
I have seen a question about the economic frame of the digital comics, so I will answer. One of the advantages is that most work on the Machinable exhibition are available online on internet or on the store for digital tactile tablets, but most of them are free. They are free to download because most of them have been sponsored by media, by the regional library I told you about, helped by the government, by the Institut français. And for these works, the artists have been paid by the public organization. The works on Instagram, when they are sponsored by the French media, the artist has been paid also thanks to the media. For other works, artists decided to give free access because they rely on crowdfunding or they rely on a platform where they ask the reader to give after you read it, you like it, then you can pay for the next work or for the next chapter. So most artists rely really on crowdfunding or on the general support of readers, so they offer their work for free. And some works have been paid by publishers because for all the marketing campaigns they launch or when they ask an author to make a transmedia project, then they will take under consideration the digital development in the remuneration of the artist. And for the reading platform I told you about at the beginning of my presentation, of course, the royalties are given to the artist depending of the book contract, because the printed book contract includes the digital format. So some artists really receive funding for their digital work. Most artists don't, but they are just generous. They want to create and they want to share their creation to the public. So most works are available for free or for a small, a very small price. And there is not a strict scheme for this price frame. It's very diverse, but for Machine Bulle exhibition, the exhibition rights of the work have been paid by the Institut français for the international project. So that's also a way to help artists to carry on with digital creation.
Thank you for your answer.
No more questions? It seemed like
a lot of informations.
That's too much information. Okay, well, but we're gonna synthesize
too much, but that's
that.
a lot.
Yeah. But there were a lot of people interested in this exhibition when we had the presentation session, and I don't remember who asked questions.
I was wondering, because there are also several comic books on Culture Tech. And I have to say, I've tried to read. I saw that's a very nice choice, but I'm not able to read any comic book on my screen. So I don't know if there's similar experiences from other part of the world or other people, or it's just me who was not adapted to this kind of devices. But well, I just wanted to have to other opinions about that. If you've succeeded in reading a whole book on Culture Tech on your tablet or whatever, or if it's if anyone shares this difficulty with me. So it's a question to everyone.
I have problems with screens in general, if you ask me. But I don't know, maybe Colombine, you can answer not specifically on the screen problem, but maybe the way the exhibition is overwhelming the problem.
For culture tech especially, I can't answer, but it's true. Depending of your country, the right for the works available on the Culture Tech, Germany Culture Tech, USA Culture Tech, Cameroon, they have been negotiated for each country one by one. So some works are available in your country and they won't be available in another one. For the works I presented, for the digital reading of paper comics that have been available online, such as Isneo platform, rights are available mainly in France. Some I live in Belgium, and there is some works I can't access, but I can access most of them anyway. And I know Isneo is available in several countries. So you may access part of the catalog, but not all works. For all the works I presented, most of them are websites or web app, which is an equivalent to website, and those are available worldwide. And most of them are available in French and English, sometimes a third language. Some of them are wordless. So we selected also these works because they are really easy you can connect to this website from all over the world. And some are apps available on the iPad or Android tablets. So you need to download the app on the App Store or Google Play. And this, depending of your country, sometimes I don't know, it may be harder in some countries than some others, but most of them are available worldwide. And for the exhibition itself, if you have trouble to access some contents, of course, it's part of the exhibition, and the Institut Français will help you to download them. But if you want to read them for your own culture, I'm sure most of them are available, and I'm sorry for those you won't be able to.
But the question is not that that they are not available. That's the problem is just to read them indeed. So I wanted to read, for instance, Larsenet, Retour à la Terre, which is actually very emblematic for this kind of situation. And I read maybe 3 pages on my computer, and then I had to pick up the book from the library because it was just aching, just hurting my eyes to read that long on the computer. And when you're reading comic, actually, you just want to distress, just to relax a little bit from work. And we're already all spending more than 10 hours per day in front of our screens. That was for me just too much. And well, that's just the point. So it would just be interesting to know if Culture Tech is succeeding in propagating this comic culture in bright parts of the world, and well, what maybe just a personal problem. So.
It's true, reading on screen may be tiring, but most comics are so interesting, and so for me, I managed to read them on tablets because really you want to know you want to turn the page and you want to know what next. For the interactive works we promote with the Machinabule exhibition, we selected many interactive comics.
Yes.
And if you are...
It looks wonderful, so it's very inspiring.
It can help also to read on screen.
Okay.
Because you're really part of the story and you can access it really, it depends of your rhythm of reading. It's when you watch a movie, then the action take place. When you read an online comic, you can decide sentence by sentence and image by image, and you can go at your own speed.
Augusto, yeah?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. It's amazing, really amazing examples. I was wondering if you are also interested in the other way when, for example, artists try to be creative using printed books. Here in Berlin, we have, for example, the publisher Round Not Square, and they make like roll books, like papyrus. And in France, you have the publisher Les Éditions Polychirène. I don't know if I say it right, but they try to use like math games to create new books. And since the goal of this portal is to find new formats of books, I think that would be interesting as well. Or, for example, Building Stories by Chris Ware. That was my question. Just if you are interested in this kind of books as well, print books that are not so usual.
So there's an example. I think we saw maybe an image in the presentation, but I didn't really spend a lot of time talking about it. That kind of resonates with what you were saying, Augusto. It was not specifically a comic, but it was a book, a physical book, paper book, that you had to tear apart some pieces, and you would build kind of a setting that would be part of the story itself. And there was an augmented reality component as well. And it's called La pluie à midi. I think the English title is Rain at Noon. And so it's kind of I guess it kind of resonates with what you were saying, where the book itself is kind of the format of the book itself is rethought, and in this precise case has digital components as well. to enhance also the narrative. But I'm sure there are many more examples which I can't think of right now, but yeah.
Of course, the links between games and the small press, as the one you said, it's a small press who exhibit each year in Angoulême. They have a strong link with comic book artists who create innovative online formats. But online comics also require some technology, and that's that maybe the frontier between artists that they like to fold paper and those are like to fold screens or to extend screen, I would say. But of course, most of them discuss together and the ideas go from one to another.
I don't know, maybe Didier, you have some answers to this question? Like maybe with the SLPG, we could have some resources about this, like, how would you call it? Augmented book, or I don't know. Like, is Didier there? Well, Augusto, I'm sure there is a big production in France of these books, these kind of books, and we'll try to get back to you with some other examples. Yeah, you gave us an example. Okay. Are there other questions? Yes, Jacqueline. You have to activate your mic.
Hi, I'm sorry, my power cut. So I'm unmuted, right?
Sorry?
I'm sorry, the power cut in Lebanon, so I missed a chunk.
Okay.
But I'll just ask one question. If you've already replied, it's okay. I'll try to look later at the recording. So my question was related to the financing, and someone I think may have asked it, but I don't know, I got cut off. How are these being paid? So are artists being paid for the web platforms, web comics, and how do they receive financing from these web comics? What's the difference with the other formats of publishing?
Yes, I gave some answers, but it's true, it's very different depending from one artist to another. And most of them rely on the readers' communities. So if you like comics, you can go to the artist website, and sometimes there is a link to one of the crowdfunding community where you can help them. But promoting their works abroad, it's also a way, of course, to help them.
And the ones like the ones on the Instagram comics, so that would be per number of viewership, or how do they get their funding?
For most Instagram projects, they don't get any funding at all. They do it because the visibility also helps their other projects. Because most artists publish on several platforms. They will be present on Instagram. They may publish on other social networks. They may publish printed books as well. And they mainly use Instagram as an experimental storytelling platform, or as just to promote their work, both. So
yeah, no, not the promotional work, the work like Été, the summer project. That's a big project. There's music, there's sound, there's different writers for the text. So there
for summer, this one has been the two first season has been funded by French media Arte, and the third season has been funded by a crowdfunding for other Instagram projects. Most of the time, it's really the artists who want also to have this free, not depending about. They don't depend on publishers. They can really do what they want. So many famous artists who publish books also use Instagram to express what they want.
Then they're free, no censorship. Good, thank you. Since nobody's speaking, I just want to thank you greatly. I want to thank Colombine for this fantastic presentation and the amazing variety of interactive and different platforms for showing comics. Just thank you.
So, yeah, Jacqueline, you from Mexico? You have to activate your mic. We can't hear you, Jacqueline. Maybe you can try to mime it, but can you write it on the chat maybe? Well, what we can do is you could ask your question on Slack afterwards if you want, Jacqueline, if you can hear me. And Anna and Colombine are on the platform and they can answer you later. Make a move with your head if you agree. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, we're gonna end it here for the focus group, and we're gonna thank really much Colombine and Anna for their time and this moment. Anna gave her contact on the chat. You can contact her. Obviously, I think Colombine, you can give yours on Slack as well. And for the focus group, we'll meet tomorrow. I don't have the program now in mind, and we have a part of the cultural network abroad. We have a group, meeting group at 4. So see you soon for you, and see you tomorrow for the others. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.